There once was a ship that put to sea. The name of the ship was the Billy o' Tea. The winds blew up her bow, dipped down. Oh, blow me, bully boys, blow. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she died below. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was cut, no whale was free. The captain's mind was not of greed. He belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line went slack, then tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on. The line's not cut and the whale's not gone. The weatherman makes his regular call to encourage the captain, crew, and all. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the weatherman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
When I was just a little lad, or so my mommy told me,
Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
that if I didn't kiss the girls, my lips would grow all moldy.
Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll haul away together. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll hope for better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
King Louis was the king of France before the revolution.
Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
But then he got his head cut off and it spoiled his constitution.
Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll haul away together. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll hope for better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. The cook is in the galley, boys, making duff so handy. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. The captain's in his cabin, lads, drinking wine and brandy. Tommy, way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll haul away together. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way haul away, we'll hope for better weather. Way haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
Oh, that was awesome. Yay. Thanks, Ben. Sorry about the volume, guys. We were streaming that through Bandcamp, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it down. You know, I'm technically savvy sometimes. Hello and welcome to another edition of Farm Virtual Connections Tuesday Tech Talk. Thank you all so much for joining us. I can see by the attendance here that most of you, if not all, have been here before. And by here, I mean, you know, virtually, of course. We are super, super happy anytime anyone shows up, I know that the time of spring is upon us, and a lot of us want to be outdoors. So we're super grateful to our speaker today because I think he would like to be outdoors. I know I would, rather than in my basement. But it's all right. This is cool stuff, and I'm excited to get started. But first, a little bit of housekeeping and tech stuff. If you are here for the first time, or perhaps just need to be reminded, this is how we do this. Our speaker today will give a roughly 30-minute talk or so, and then we will open up to questions. And you are all, I think, actually not able to unmute yourselves. Excellent. So you can, if you would like to ask your question yourself, we would love that. You can use the raise hand feature, and that raise hand feature is located down in the reactions tab. Hopefully you've updated Zoom sometime in the last couple of months. If you haven't and you're way outdated, I know that sometimes that's true for some people. Then you may not find the raise hand feature down there in the reactions tab, but rather in the lower left corner of your participant window. So in that case, it's a little blue hand. Or you can just throw in the chat, I'd like to ask my question out loud, and I will call on you. We have a small enough group today that I can probably even put you on the screen and see your hands. I'm babbling too much. The other option is to just put your question in the chat. So without further ado, today's speaker, Ben Travers, came to us, or was, I think Nick is the one who told me about you, Ben. I'm going to bring you on the screen. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. This is when I get a chance to chat. And Charlie Mossbrook, Farm Board President, who's in the back end playing co-host, will please kindly man the waiting room, sir. Thank you, Ben. So I think it was Nick, our farm board member, Nick Thomasma, Nicholas James, who said, hey, Ben Travers knows a little something about Bandsintown. And this has been on my list for a long, long time. I have a big, long list of tech and things that artists use to promote their music and do other things and their shows. So I was really excited to hear we have a friend over in Grand Rapids. Ben Travers is a traditional artist, but he is also getting into the electronic music a little bit right now. Singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. You were listening to some of his awesome shanties that he's put out on Bandcamp. So I'll put a link to that in the chat. He's a member of the Earthwork Music Collective, which if you're not familiar with this collective of phenomenal artists and community-minded individuals, please look them up, Earthwork Music Collective. And so Ben, I love this. The Accidentals call Ben the modern day Pete Seeger, and God knows we can never have too many of those. So Ben, I'm super happy that you're here to share a bit about Bandsintown and Songkick. Sir, I'm going to hide and take it away. You're on.
All right. Well, thank you guys a ton for tuning in. I'm super excited to be here with y'all, showing you some tech stuff. Bandsintown and Songkick, both very similar platforms. They've got some differences between them. I've personally found that Bandsintown has kind of like the sleeker interface. It will probably look better on your website than the Songkick widget. And also I found that more people just use Bandsintown separately as its own platform as a way to find out about concerts. But one disadvantage of Bandsintown is that it doesn't integrate with a lot of different platforms. Songkick, you can link right up to your Spotify and your Bandcamp. So those tour dates will show up on those sites, which is a very, very good thing to have, to just put your shows out in front of as many people as possible. So unfortunately, that means you should probably realistically be using both. I know everybody loves the bookwork of just like sitting down and like plugging in the information for your shows on Facebook or on Facebook and Bandsintown and Songkick. Here, I'll drop that's the link for to get to like the artist page of Songkick, you go to tourbox.songkick.com. I guess we'll dive in, show you guys how each platform works. Let's get the screen share going. So here's my Bandsintown page. I don't have any shows posted on here right now, which, you know, shame on me for not getting ahead of that, but it works out because now we'll get to like do a live show entering onto both of these. So you go to add an event. I haven't done the festival thing, so that's interesting. That's newer. It's happening at a venue. You just type in the venue name, the information will show up. Sometimes it won't show up and you'll have to go in and add the venue yourself. I found that to be a much more regular occurrence on Songkick, having to go in and add venues. You also have the option to add just a city. I'd recommend not doing that. It just, you know, giving as much information to people as possible is best, in my opinion. Also, Songkick groups cities in a really weird way. So if, like, for instance, Mari Vineyards in Traverse City wasn't a part of Songkick's like venue database or whatever, and since I wasn't able to do that, I had to put in just Traverse City as the city. And Traverse City and Grand Rapids are in the same like region, I guess, according to Songkick. So if you would look at the lineup, it would say like in Grand Rapids instead of Traverse City, which is not great. I don't think a lot of people are going to be driving all the way from Grand Rapids to see me play at a vineyard in like Old Mission Peninsula. So then we've got the date. This particular show is June 22nd, and it goes from...
Hey, that's my birthday.
Oh, nice. Wonderful.
Excellent. Now I know what I'm doing, right? No.
Oh, is it gonna work? There we go. So yeah, put in the date and time. I personally like including the end time. It doesn't have the little asterisk, so it's not a required thing. But I personally like to know if I'm getting into like a 2-hour show or if it's like a 4-hour show and like someone's just going to be there forever. Event posters. I don't know if Songkick has the ability to do the posters. I like to do it. I try to have like a custom thing for all of my shows. I've got like a little doodle, little drawing that my friend Brandon James from Bad Love Design. I don't remember what the thing. It's Bad Love something, but it's got like all the show information on like a little mini poster where I just type in the info in Photoshop and then upload it everywhere. But yeah, so lineup. If there are other bands on the bill, you can do that. I don't think there's any sort of connectivity, so if I put something in there, it won't show up on their Bandsintown, which is kind of a bummer. But that's pretty much it. It's a straightforward thing with both Bandsintown and Songkick. So there we go. And then if I had a website, it would have the Bandsintown widget on it, and then that would show up there. And we're gonna do the same thing in Songkick, I guess. Go over it. Love that all of them are adding like the live stream stuff. It's good that they're branching out into that. So one good thing with Songkick is that the lineup does add the shows to other people's like accounts. And so one of the things that we do in the Earthwork Music Collective is add Earthwork Music as a supporting artist. And I'll show you why after we get that out. Hopefully there we go. Yeah, so got this is in military time, so you just got to remember to add, figure out what the correct time is for your show. I've always done just when the shows start and not when like doors open, I guess, but I also am mostly playing like breweries and vineyards and stuff like that. So, I guess the doors technically open at like 8 a.m. or wherever the place opens. So save concert, and then it's done. If you have a ticket link, you can put it in. Songkick only allows ticket links from like approved vendors. So you could do like a Ticketmaster thing or something. But like, for instance, Harvest Gathering, if I were to add Harvest Gathering to my lineup, I wouldn't be able to add the Harvest Gathering website to buy tickets. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you are selling tickets yourself, you won't be able to use Songkick as a platform for that link, but Bandsintown allows any ticket links to go through. So we go back to events, you can see that it's there now. And then the reason we add Earthwork as a supporting artist is when you go to the Earthwork website, let's see if it'll show up. Then it's just an easy way for on the Earthwork site for all of the artist shows coming up to be in one central place, and you can see like it's with me, and then any other show that any collective member has coming up, if they add Songkick on the supporting artist, it will show up below too the same way. So that's a cool little trick that I don't think a lot of people do, because neither Bandsintown or Songkick have a way to like just natively support a widget for multiple artists. So this was the best workaround that I'd found, and that works great if you're like maybe in multiple bands. Like first person comes to mind, Justin Abdeck from Earth Radio. He also plays with Mark Lavengood, and he has his own thing. I don't know if he ever really performs it, but he just released a new solo album not too long ago. And so he could go into the supporting artists and be like, okay, I have this Earth Radio show. I'm playing this show with Mark Lavengood. And then on like whatever Justin Abdeck website, there could be the Songkick widget that has all of those shows in one place. And then you don't have to input the shows in a second time. That was the big part of doing this, because like I'm already entering the show information on Facebook, Songkick, and Bandsintown. I don't want to do it a fourth time. Yeah, so that's a good tip. That's kind of the bulk of it. Both of them allow you to do bulk uploading. So you can get like a spreadsheet and enter all of your information on there, and then upload the sheet, and it's supposed to automatically add all of the shows. I've never gotten it to work for Bandsintown. It's also been a long time since I've been announcing a bulk of shows, so maybe they fixed that in like since 2019. But Songkick does have a bulk upload that works better. The only weird thing with Songkick is that if you want to do anything like that, or if you want to add yourself to a festival lineup that's like a more established festival, you need to send their support an email saying, hey, I want to make this change. And then they have to make that change for you. They've always been super quick, like within a day, have gotten a response, the changes made. It's kind of unfortunate that you need to go through those steps, but Songkick on a whole works on like community inputting. Like I could add a show for anybody that I want. It could be a friend, it could be like anyone that isn't super famous, and to keep people from doing things nefarious, I guess they lock artists or festivals or events that are like higher profile. So that's a thing to keep in mind. If you're like opening a show for somebody that's a bigger name, you'll probably have to email Songkick to get you as a supporting artist. I've always just included a link like, hey, here's the link to the Facebook event for the show, where it has the poster that shows that this artist is on the lineup. And they've always been super great, super nice, quick to respond. I guess we can go through the festival thing. I'm curious to see what the festival lineup looks like. So we're doing Smiling Acres Music Festival. Okay, so this one, here's a good example for things that haven't been added yet then. I believe Smiling Acres is the 2nd to the 3rd. I don't think it's 3 days, but I could be wrong. Is the, I can't see the chat with the screen share going on. Are people having questions, or are things good?
Nope. It's, I'm just glad I'm on a big screen because everything's really small. But
Yeah.
I think the idea, the concept of adding a show in these things is, there's so many different kinds of platforms like this that,
Yeah.
it's fairly intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But so while you're doing this though, Ben, when you add a new festival, so like you're adding this festival, does that mean anybody else who goes into Bandsintown will find your version of this festival if they type it in the same way, or are they?
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially anybody who goes in first and adds a venue, there it is. It's out there. So even the venue doesn't necessarily have to add it.
Yeah. It does look like somebody already added the Smiling Acres Music Festival into Bandsintown because it had like that drop down to autofill everything, which is very nice. Always love having to do less work.
Oh, so in the add your festival thing, you found it? It didn't show up in the screen before that.
Yeah, but it showed up here. Like,
it's
see
not
how
gonna-
there's that. So somebody has put in the information already.
It's not going to duplicate it.
No.
Good. Very cool.
So then next, next I am playing on the Saturday. Oh, this is for the full festival. Yeah, so like you could go in and add the lineup if you want. I don't necessarily think it's super necessary, especially since it doesn't have that like interconnectivity. It could be cool maybe if there's like a really big band playing, like if you were playing Hoxeyville, might be worth to put like Billy Strings on there.
Right.
But
connect another artist to it, right?
Yeah.
We do have a question, and since I'm, if you don't mind me interjecting while you're posting that in there, is it mostly for the artists, or do you think like a festival would use this for something? How would this be?
I definitely think Songkick is probably better for a festival to use. Just because it does add that like interconnectivity between artists. It links to all of their pages. It, like, yeah, connects everything. I still think Bandsintown is worthwhile to have, just because people do go to Bandsintown to see what events are happening in an area, and they follow artists on there. Like Earthwork Music also has a Bandsintown. If we go to past events, it might be like Collective Tours. Looks like Harvest Gathering was on there. Harvest 2013 was added. Like still, it's just one more place for people to stumble across your event, and I don't think that's ever a bad thing. But I definitely think these are less important than Facebook if it's for a single event that happens once a year.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about just in general, the promotion of it, and like how you go from, I know that there's a Bandsintown for artists. This is where you enter everything, but then there's a kind of a main Bandsintown page that people can subscribe to and then follow you, almost like a social media thing, right?
Yeah. So you can just like Facebook or whatever, you can post and share and like send messages to your Bandsintown followers. They even have like a promotion campaign thing. I've never used it. I personally feel Bandsintown doesn't have enough of a built-in base for it to be worth dumping money into. If you're going to be spending money, you should probably be spending it on Facebook ads and Instagram ads. But you can, let's see. So then if you're following somebody, it's been a really long time since I've looked at like the user side of Bandsintown.
Yeah, you got to kind of, some people, it's probably a lot like what I've seen other people talk about in some of these platforms like Bandcamp even. They're not necessarily discovery platforms. They're places.
Yeah. I mean, Bandsintown is kind of a discovery platform. Like they used to, it seems like they've pivoted pretty much all to live stream concerts, which, for the time is good. I'm glad they're doing that. But you used to be able to be like, oh, things happening in Grand Rapids, and they would show you events that were happening around the area. So it is a way to find out about things that are happening nearby. I don't know how often people are doing that versus just following artists. Mm-hmm. I would probably imagine it's more so people following artists that they like and then occasionally using it. I feel like if somebody's using Bandsintown to find a concert to go to, they're like a more dedicated listener already anyways and are already following a lot of people, whereas most folks who are just looking for something to do on a Friday night are probably going to go to Facebook to find things happening.
Yeah. But there's no integration between Bandsintown and Facebook. So, but you mentioned there was with Songkick.
There is with Songkick, but it's awful. It's terrible. I hate it. Every time that I run somebody else's Songkick, the first thing I do is shut off Facebook integration. So Songkick will automatically generate events for your Facebook page, but you can't edit those events. You can't like add descriptions, at least in my experience. I've never been able to like change the image on them. It's always been just like, so like for me, it would be like that picture would be the event image and I wouldn't be able to add my like more customized poster thing. Yeah, awful. Bandsintown also has a Facebook integration, but it's a little bit different. I don't know if I have it set up on mine or not. I probably don't, but it'll have like, oh, it might not. Oh yeah, there we go. Live shows. So that's the Bandsintown like integration into Facebook. Let's see if it'll load. Hello, please. No. Not feeling it today.
Interesting.
Guess Bandsintown. I've been like, I went to a handful of different websites to try to find like examples of Bandsintown widgets that look good. And the widget is broken on, oh, there we go. So that's, yeah. So that's what Bandsintown's Facebook integration looks like. It normally is a little bit better. I'm sure this is all supposed to be like stylized, and it's just whatever internet thing is going on right now is why it's not looking great.
Yeah, it's not loading all the way, but
Um,
I think that's worth it right there. I mean, if you
yeah,
think about, because I know you can embed this into your website too, right?
yes.
So if you are looking for a way to post something, and from my perspective, I came from the world when Reverb Nation was a really popular way to load and use their widget
Hmm.
and everything, and then they got ugly, and I mean, it would just, they'd stopped working, everything stopped working. So that was a long, long time ago, but it has that sort of similar use, right? You
Yeah,
put it out there, and so any place you can put your info is a chance of getting a new audience, right? So
exactly. Yeah, I
I like
still,
this. Hmm.
even with the Bandsintown like Facebook thing, I would still recommend using the Facebook events in addition, because like with that you can like invite people and do this and that and the other thing.
Sure.
Um, like things that you can't do in Bandsintown, and is very important to help get the word out about your show. And then also just Facebook ads. You can't promote like a Bandsintown
Right.
integrated thing as an ad.
So one of our attendees here, Andrew, is asking. He said he seems to recall doing all of Bandsintown work with Facebook Music, with his face within the Facebook Music page. I'm not 100% sure what that means.
I'm not familiar with a way of creating Bandsintown events
That's very much.
through Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever seen in the past. Maybe it's hidden away somewhere with a new page layout. I certainly have no idea. I've not really delved too deep into it.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Um,
integration. He said the only access he had to his control panel was to log into Facebook and do it there. Well, that's interesting. I wonder.
Unless if you're talking about like logging in through Facebook to connect your pages to create events, because that's what I've done. Like I log in through Facebook to get into both Bandsintown and Songkick, and since I like am an admin on like my Facebook page and Seth's Facebook page, and like the Earthwork Music page, like those all show up for me here.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. I know lately you can connect to things using Google or Facebook or, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So everything is automatically kind of connected that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's the closest that I could think of, if that's what you were talking about.
Might be that, he says. Okay. Thanks,
Cool.
Andrew.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ben. I don't mean to, you were heading somewhere.
No worries. But yeah, I've been seeing like a lot of issues with the Bandsintown widget. It's broken on my website. I think it was broken on Lavengood's website. Did find it working on the Accidentals' website. So that's what the widget could look like, what it looks like on their site. One cool thing with the Bandsintown widget is that it's like pretty customizable. So you can just like type in the font that you want, and it'll update it. You can change all your colors, and it even works with weirder fonts, like something like that. Like that's the font that I have on the website for my electronic project, or had before the widget stopped working. But yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility. If you want to get really funky with it, you can go into like the code for the widget, and then you can really customize stuff. Like I had done that previously to get this font in on my electronic site. But yeah,
So then
that
you just paste that code, and most people who know how to kind of embed a widget into your website, you just drop that code in there. Yeah,
yep,
wherever it
yeah,
goes.
copy and paste, easy stuff. And then if you go to add more customization, they show you like what parts of the code you can change to get what desired effect. So that's handy. It can let you really, like, if you want to dive in really deep and tweak it, you can get it to match really nicely with the format of your website if it's a really stylized thing.
Yeah.
But that's the bulk of it. How to use Songkick and Bandsintown. We're at 2:30 now, a little bit after. Anybody have any questions about anything?
Oh, you know I do.
Great.
No, it's mostly about talking about this because part of the reason that I was attracted to Bandsintown is because of the Accidentals website and their site as well as other websites. And I was telling you this before we were live that because I design websites, I was always looking for a good way to display for bands. And
Mm-hmm.
I've used a plugin that works fine. I have to kind of customize that plugin every time, and a Bandsintown widget is a nice
Oh,
way to do
geez.
it because you're promoting at the same time. You're putting
Yeah.
your gigs out there beyond just your own website, and even if it's maybe a snowball's chance in hell that somebody happens upon you, it's a way to promote further. And I love the integration with Facebook. And
Mm-hmm.
so Songkick, I assume, has a widget as well that people use.
Yeah, so that's what was on the Earthworks site that I was showing
Oh,
with
right.
my
That's
show.
right.
That was the
Right.
Songkick widget.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're an agent, like a booking agent or something, or you're handling a whole bunch of artists, you
Mm-hmm.
could be they could have the widget on their website and you just log into Bandsintown and put all that information in, and then it
Yep.
automatically populates their website, which is great. If you are a venue, I don't know why not.
Um,
I mean, why not use a widget on your website, right? With the show.
yeah, yeah, I think you definitely should. I think there's I think Songkick works. I don't know. For a venue, it's different because like they do. I know Bandsintown has a venue like option
Mhm.
for your artists. I used to do a house show series in my hometown of Manistee called Lakeside House Shows, and I had used Bandsintown for those events, and that was a good way to, yeah, same thing, have them categorized, have them out there. I think it's a lot better than, like, I see a lot of places using Google Calendar.
Mm.
I think this works a lot better than that because, like you were talking about, with it being on another platform, people are still able to get to it from multiple different ways. The Facebook integration, like I think it takes a lot of steps out,
Yeah.
and it also just looks better. Like the Google Calendar just kind of looks like they're people that don't know how to like get with the times, I guess. Like the Google Calendar widget looks super old school,
Mhm.
and like that can be a good look, and I use the Google Calendar widget for other things. But I think if it's like your professional, like, here's the best way to find out about my events, um, whether you're an artist, a festival, a venue, it just looks cleaner to use Bandsintown.
Yeah. Well, right. The formatting of it looked nice. Also, there's an RSVP feature. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about that? What's that do?
Yeah, so if somebody's interested in going to a show, they can click RSVP, and it's the same thing as saying you're interested in a Facebook event. It's just a number that you can look at, more data to look back on to see what shows and what areas are maybe better attended.
Yeah. And regional targeting, like, you get an idea of maybe
Yeah.
potentially get new fans and sign up for your email list and
Mm-hmm.
'cause I know
Exactly.
followers out there on both of those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how to see how many followers you have on Songkick, but I know it's pretty easy on Bandsintown. You just go to the home tab and it'll show you. I think I've got 11 followers on Songkick, or on Bandsintown rather. So definitely less than the like 500 some or whatever on Facebook, but
Right. I feel like a lot of these things are really, there's a lot of famous people out here on the cover of, the Songkick. I'm looking at the Songkick page, and Jason Mraz is on here, and 21 Pilots, and a whole bunch
mhm,
of other people I've never heard of. Oh, Jimmy Buffett. And,
nice.
I mean, but, these are big, huge names. You can imagine their
Mhm.
agents or, or whatever, their lackeys putting this stuff up there. And, um, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like the purpose for using it for folks that are in our world is more of a matter of having a nice widget to,
Totally.
I mean, something that's specifically created for bands to be on the website. And then, just again, having some of that integration. And anyway, I'm curious.
Mhm.
There's, Andrew, obviously you use, Bandsintown, and you have, it sounds like you might only use it through Facebook. So that's a curious thing, but maybe I'm wrong about that. So raise your hand if you want to say anything more about that. And is there anybody else who's like never used it, who says, okay, well, I might try it, or are there people out there who are actually using it and like it and want to add anything to the conversation at this point? Sometimes things are just that simple. It's just like, oh, let's talk about Bandsintown. And here's why. Because personally, I'm heading back out to use it. I signed up for it. I was going to start using it. And then I just got lazy. But I feel like that's going to be a better option for me than the plugin that I'm currently using on my website right now. Because I can already tell,
Mhm.
especially since a lot of these places are now like shifting into live streams. Like, Diane, go ahead, hon.
It took thanks for allowing me to unmute. Okay. It won't, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Before it wasn't letting me unmute. Um, I believe I used Bandsintown about 2 years ago, and I loaded a bunch of concerts, local and far flung, into it, and it put them on my web page, on a particular place in my web page. But when the concerts were over, everything disappeared. And I remember writing in and asking them, what I want these concerts up in the history of where I've played. And they said that they were working on it. Do you know, do they archive this now and show it in the
Yeah.
menu?
Yeah. So when you go to somebody's website, let me see if the accidentals have it set up. They don't. When you go to set up your widget, there's a checkbox to show like past dates, and then people who go to your website can click on that and see all the shows that you played in the past.
Sounds like they fixed that problem.
Mm-hmm. And then you can also look at your past shows in the manager page.
Cool. I remember you talking about, okay, sorry. I have to ask you to unmute. Go ahead, Diane.
So is that something that you set up on the Bandsintown website and say that you want to show the past dates?
Yeah, here, let me see if I can see where it is. Okay.
Widget.
So if you're here, you've got this past dates checkbox. Then you can see the computer screen change to show past dates. And if you click on that, then it's shows some old dates.
So when you take that off, if you unclick past dates in Bandsintown, then it's not an option there. Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then that's like just for the widget. If you were to go to Just my, see, I think we do that, it works. Maybe, nope. Wow, if I can type, holy cow.
I can never type when people are watching me.
So whether you have it checked or not, the past dates is going to be available on the Bandsintown website itself. But yeah, that's cool. Fans also follow Clancy Brothers, Woody Guthrie, Doc Watson, and Pete Seeger.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh. You are an old soul there, aren't you?
Love that. That's incredible.
That's high praise, dude.
I
That's
know.
really-
Wow.
That's pretty great. Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. I mean, we're all looking for new places to, for people to find us and hear our music. So,
Yeah.
I think it's great. If you Google Bandsintown, like if you start typing it in, the first thing that pops up is versus Songkick, right? Like the autocomplete. shows that.
Yeah.
So I
It's,
thought that was interesting that a lot of people are doing the comparison. So
yeah, because they are so close. And it's unfortunate that you kind of should be doing both. Like I know I don't like doing a million different, like doing the same thing a bunch of different times. But
that's
like, yeah, but the advantage, like Bandsintown just having a better base of people using it and the widget looking so much sleeker, I feel like is enough of a reason to use it. And then Songkick with its Bandcamp and Spotify integration. I feel like that's huge too.
Yeah.
So you kind of just got to do both, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, we need to find like the person out there who loves doing this stuff. There are people out there in the world who love data entry.
You can go to a college and find a music business intern.
Yeah, right. There you go. I love this stuff. Or a new job description for somebody right there. But okay, so Diane is asking a good question, and you can just follow up on the past dates. So if I'm going to use Bandsintown right now, I don't have a lot of future dates, but I got a whole ton of past dates. And I would assume you can go ahead and enter past dates, right? Do you know? Or
Great question. Let's try. Let's see what happens if I put in an old date.
I love this venue or online is there.
Okay, you can. Oh yeah, you can. Looks like you can.
Cool. But like you, I had. I remember now. In fact, when you mentioned that the upload, using the spreadsheet and uploading it wasn't working, I had that problem. I remember that was why I stopped because I went to all the trouble. I downloaded their spreadsheet and I tried to upload it and I kept getting an error message, and I have a communication with them and she said that they were working on it. Of course, this is same time you were talking about 2019. And needless to say, I stopped worrying about it after a while, but I remember I have a whole email communication. I should just try and go find that and see what she said. She almost had me download a different spreadsheet than what they had out there. I would like to think that they have that fixed by now.
I would certainly hope so. I feel like they've been putting in effort to do updates and stuff, switching their layouts to accommodate live stream shows, changing how their widget works to make it more accessible. I feel like bulk upload is like not out of the question to ask for. So I hope that would be pretty high on the things they were taking care of, but also who knows?
And I'm assuming Songkick does too.
Yeah, they've got bulk upload. That has worked for me, but you kind of have to do the thing where you like submit it and then somebody at Songkick has to like approve it and then it gets put up. It's kind of a weird thing. But I've had it work in the past. You just, don't do it if your show is like the next day.
It's all the famous people they have on there. They don't want people because you can list somebody else on there. They don't want a bunch of people saying, "Hey, I got a show with Bruce Springsteen."
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep. There goes that plan, Mark Jewett.
I
Sorry.
know, right? I can't say that I'm like
Hi, Angie.
headlining for Bob Dylan or something, you know.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I loved that idea. But the other thing that occurred to me as you were entering this information, and then we discovered that the like the festival, Mark's festival was in there
Yeah.
already. So
Hmm.
duplicating, I know that this happens with Reverb Nation and some other things that kind of have an auto create for the events. If people just slightly change the name of, if you had entered a new festival not looking for the autofill that was there, there would have been a second version of the festival. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like if I wrote
Hmm.
Earthwork Gathering and then somebody else wrote Earthwork Music Gathering, it's the same gathering, but it's in there now twice. And so there's kind of that continuity gets messed up when you can.
Yeah.
do
So
that.
that's that like comes down to the user. Yeah, you just gotta
Yeah.
make sure that you're being accurate with the information that you're putting in. So it wouldn't be the Earthwork Gathering or the Earthwork Music Gathering. It's the Earthwork Harvest Gathering.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
See, I said it wrong 3 times.
no worries. Songkick's festival thing works a little bit differently. It won't let you, like, festivals are kind of like isolated events that already exist a lot of times.
Mhm.
So then you need to like go in and say like, actually, I'm a part of this festival. And when you go in to add the festival on Songkick, it'll be like, hey, did you mean this festival that already has an event?
Yeah.
So that is nice. That does help keep that a little bit more
Yeah.
under control. And Songkick also lets you specify what day of the festival you're playing, which is nice.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just the whole festival's in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is that's a very good philosophical thing. It's really important for artists to make sure they have the name of the venue or festival they're playing
Yeah,
accurate and exactly how the festival or venue would like it listed. So,
for sure. Yeah. And I know being a Michigander, everyone wants to say like Earthworks or Myers or whatever else. Just,
Mhm.
yeah, making sure the correct things are singular and plural and
Yeah.
making sure the names are all correct.
Yeah, that's what we are. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, how's everybody doing out there? Any more questions? Looks like it's all kind of no-brainer stuff, but also just making the decision to use it. Um, So I'm inspired, Ben.
Mhm.
I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
And I
Glad
would,
I was able to sit down with y'all.
yeah, man, this has been a nice intimate gathering. But for those of you in the room, we've decided we're going to take a little bit of a break over the summertime. We've got a handful of tech talks lined up for the next I don't know, watch the schedule. We do not have one next week, if I'm remembering correctly. Charlie, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. See, I should have been prepared. But watch our emails. We do have coming up tomorrow night a peer session for venues, a live music presenter peer session. And this is our first one kind of since we started, but we're doing it in the evening. And this one's being hosted by a couple of our board members, Joanne Smitty-Brush and Randy Styka, and they will be talking about reopening. And I think that's what's on everybody's mind right now and figuring out what comes next and just having some really good conversation. It's primarily for venues, but anybody's welcome to be a fly on the wall and join that. So you go to farmvirtualconnections.org and you can get all the information about what's coming up there. We also have our community peer session on Thursday. For those of you who were in the loop there, we had mentor sessions scheduled for tomorrow, but just due to a bunch of factors, we've decided to postpone those. And so we'll be having a new batch and our current mentors will be coming back again next month. So keep an eye out for that, because I do think we'd like to keep that going. People can take 15 minutes out, and spend some time with somebody who's going to help them in their career. I think that's a pretty cool thing. So what else? We are I'm afraid to say too much. We're having lots of conversations at Virtual Connections. We're excited to make some upcoming announcements about what's going on. And we hope that you will keep checking back. So if you're not already on our mailing list, go to farmvirtualconnections.org, go to farmfolk.org. You can find our email there. And let's get into gallery view and show a big round of support to our tech talker today, Ben Travers. Thank you so much for hanging out and sharing what you know about these two platforms today. And thanks to the rest of you for dropping in and being with us. And we will see you the next time at Virtual Connections. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.